What happened when Candace Owens panicked after John Kennedy dropped the truth on live TV stunned viewers, shattered talking points, and exposed a rift no one expected. The broadcast was supposed to be a calm political roundtable on prime time, but it turned into a verbal lightning storm when Senator Kennedy ditched his usual charm for cold, brutal honesty. Candace visibly flustered. She tried to spin, but the truth Kennedy dropped was impossible to outrun. The segment began with polite back and forth between the panel. When asked about racial division in America, Candace launched into one of her familiar monologues about personal responsibility and victimhood. "What's hurting Black America isn't racism," she declared confidently. "It's a mindset, a refusal to evolve." Some on the panel nodded, others stayed quiet. Kennedy, stone-faced, leaned into his mic and said flatly, "That's not the truth. That's just what you tell people to sell books." The moment hung heavy. Candace blinked, stunned. "Excuse me?" she asked. Kennedy didn't flinch. "You talk a lot about strength, ma'am, but I've seen strength. It looks like my neighbor working 3 jobs just to get his daughter out of poverty. It looks like folks being polite when they've got every reason to scream. What do you do? It's noise. It's performance. And tonight, I'm calling it out." The studio fell into a stunned silence. Even the host was caught off guard. Candace stammered, trying to regain footing. "I'm entitled to my opinion, Senator." Kennedy nodded. "You are. But when your opinion gets people hurt, when it gives cover to folks in power who don't want to change, then it's not just an opinion, it's a problem." The live audience gasped. Some clapped. Candace's eyes darted to the producers. She was clearly rattled. She hadn't come expecting resistances, especially not from a fellow conservative. Trying to regain control, she pivoted to data. Crime rates, education gaps, family structure. "These aren't emotional issues, they're statistical." Kennedy cut her off, voice steady. "Statistics without context are just weapons. You use them to blame instead of understand. That's why you're popular with folks who've never had to live the things they argue about." Candace went pale. She looked like someone who had rehearsed a fight and realized she brought a knife to a gun battle. Online. The moment exploded instantly. Clips of Kennedy's calm dismantling were everywhere, labeled Kennedy Rex Owens and Truth Bomb on live TV. Viewers couldn't believe it. Kennedy, often known for his folksy sayings, had peeled back the political gloss and delivered a moral gut punch that left Candace scrambling. Memes flooded Twitter. "I ain't mad, I'm just disappointed. John Kennedy probably became an overnight trend." Back in the studio, the host tried to shift to commercial, but Candace wasn't done. She lashed out, accusing Kennedy of siding with liberal narratives. But he didn't take the bait. "I'm siding with reality," he said, "and reality doesn't care about your brand." The way he said it with calm conviction was like a courtroom verdict. Candace froze. She looked cornered. Her voice wavered. And for the first time in the night, she had no comeback. When the show finally went to break, Candace reportedly stormed off set. Staffers whispered that she was demanding the segment not be aired, but it was already too late. Millions had seen it. No amount of PR spin could unring the bell. Kennedy hadn't just challenged her. He'd exposed something deeper, hollowness behind the catchphrases. And audiences saw it for what it was: image, not insight; performance, not principle. That night, Kennedy posted a single tweet. "Truth has a funny way of surviving spin." It was short, but it said everything. He didn't gloat, didn't attack. He didn't need to. The moment had spoken for itself. Even media outlets that typically backed Owens admitted she'd been visibly shaken. And by morning, conservative blogs were filled with nervous takes, wondering if Candace's brand could recover from being dismantled by her own side. Meanwhile, civil rights leaders, faith groups, and community activists began citing Kennedy's comments. One pastor said during Sunday service, "When someone on national TV tells you to stop selling struggle as a slogan, listen." Even Kennedy's political rivals found it hard to criticize him. One Democratic senator tweeted, "We disagree on a lot. But tonight, John Kennedy spoke the kind of truth that politics rarely allows." The moment had crossed boundaries and exposed a painful but needed reckoning. The fallout for Candace Owens came quickly. Bookings were canceled. Sponsors hesitated. Commentators questioned whether her messaging was sustainable without opposition to sharpen it against. But worse than any professional damage was the shift in public perception. People who once parroted her talking points began to ask harder questions. Not because Kennedy attacked her, but because he exposed what was missing. Live truth. Candace tried to recover the next day on her podcast, calling Kennedy's remarks soft betrayal and claiming he was being used by the left. But it rang hollow. Comments flooded in, many from longtime supporters now rethinking their loyalty. If you can't handle questions without falling apart, one viewer wrote. Maybe your ideas weren't that strong to begin with. Even her team reportedly warned her to lay low for a while. She didn't listen. Kennedy, meanwhile, went about his schedule as usual. He didn't do a victory lap. He didn't appear on late-night shows to relive the moment. Instead, he visited a food pantry in Baton Rouge, then gave a speech at a local university. When asked about the TV incident, he said wasn't personal, just tired of the truth getting dragged through the mud for entertainment. That humility made the moment even more powerful. He wasn't chasing headlines. He was leading. Behind the scenes, Republican leadership scrambled. Candace had long been a controversial but useful figure in energizing younger voters. Now, with her credibility damaged and Kennedy rising in popularity, even among centrists, the party faced a dilemma. One aide admitted, Kennedy may have just redrawn the line of what's acceptable, and that's going to make things very uncomfortable for some people. The media ran special segments analyzing the exchange. Body language experts noted Candace's posture collapsing as Kennedy spoke. Debate coaches praised his restraint. He didn't insult her, one analyst said. He outgrew her in real time and let the audience see the difference between conviction and charisma. Commentators called it a masterclass in integrity under pressure. Something rare. Something raw. Something real. In the weeks that followed, Kennedy's words echoed across school boards, churches, and college classrooms. Teachers played the clip to demonstrate how real conversations should be handled. Leaders shared it to show that courage doesn't always have to shout. Even barbershops and beauty salons discussed it, not as gossip, but as a national moment of clarity. The message had traveled and stuck. Candace Owens went silent for nearly 2 weeks. When she reappeared online, it was with a new tone, quieter, less sure. She had been forced to confront something she hadn't prepared for, a challenge from someone not looking to destroy her, but to correct her. Kennedy hadn't yelled, mocked, or canceled. He'd just told the truth. In doing so, he left her no place to hide. Years from now, people may not remember the exact words said that night, but they'll remember the shift. The night when a senator reminded the world that politics isn't performance, that strength isn't noise, that truth doesn't blink, and that when it speaks clearly without cruelty, doesn't just win arguments, it changes minds. So when Candace Owens panicked after John Kennedy dropped the truth on live TV, she wasn't defeated by outrage. She was undone by something far stronger, a man who didn't raise his voice because the truth was already loud enough.